I guess, Palsteron here. And today let's talk about first the league mechanic, because I have engaged with it a little bit more. I have some thoughts on it. And then second up, I also want to update the Toxic and Ballista build that I've been league starting. I will say this, I actually don't hate the league mechanic as much as some other people do. And that is mainly because, like, you have these comparisons to, for example, League of Kalandra. And I will say this needed more time in the oven, but it is no comparison to League of Kalandra for me personally. Simply because League of Kalandra was not just a bad league mechanic, it was a bad league mechanic inside a bad base game. In the current league, I can completely ignore this league mechanic and have a ton of fun. In League of Kalandra, with Arch Nemesis mobs just being super crazy, there wasn't much fun to be had at the start. So however overtuned some of these mobs are right now, I can at least enjoy the rest of the game. And there will be a ton of new builds spawning from some of the new mods. So for example, for a build maker, it is going to be an extremely fun league either way. But let's talk about some of the flaws that this league has. And I'm not going to talk about like how hard is the league mechanic and stuff like that, because I think that in a week or so, most people would just absolutely waltz through even fully charged mechanics. But right now, I want to talk about two things that will have to change in order for this to be enjoyable, at least for me. And the biggest one is quality of life problems. I am still not sure why GGG didn't like Ultimatum. For me, it was one of the most fun leagues of all time. As far as I know, it's one of the most well-received in terms of how people liked it. I don't know about player numbers or anything like that. But the lessons learned from Ultimatum are just not being incorporated into some of the new leagues. Getting attacked while channeling it is incredibly annoying. What have we learned from Ultimatum? You can be invulnerable for a little bit, so you can actually choose stuff. This goes back to stuff like Betrayal. This goes back to doing your expedition stuff. Having to clear half of the map so you can actually do stuff without getting off-screen from some ranged mob is fun. After they tried it out in Ultimatum, I'm not sure what made them go back to the Stone Ages and not use that. So that is my first problem. Then when you channel, channeling is unfun, right? There's no reason for me to stand there for 10 seconds. You can defend that with whatever you want. Like, wait, it doesn't matter. It is not fun. Especially not when combined that I'm not even immortal while I'm doing it. I just have to hope that there's no ranged mob that I kind of aggroed that is now slowly walking towards me and then attacks me or anything like that. It's not fun. I don't understand it. And then it's hard to know how much you actually channeled. There's very little like gauge in terms of how far you go. There's like these jump points where it seems like you get a lot more XP, and then there's like these break points of channel where mobs all of a sudden get like 2 or 3 times the amount of HP and just hit way harder. But it's not clearly communicated, right? There's no clear difficulty. For example, I would have liked to see it like Ultimatum, for example. You can continue or you can't. You can do that right here, right? You say low difficulty, mid difficulty, high difficulty, right? You can even do some random mods in there, like do whatever, but just give us a clear difficulty, right? Then that is the biggest problem. I think if this is fixed, I think the league would be solid. And I think those are mostly easy fixes. So if you fix this, if you kind of maybe tune the difficulty, depending on levels, whatever. But the big thing that I'm not sure is fixable is the longevity of this league. There is some awesome weapon mods, so don't get me wrong. There will be a ton of builds to try. But in terms of the mechanic, sure, you can say, I'm just going to build my weapon and I'm going to make it better and better and better, and I can min-max that. But after the weapon, what then? There's no loot dropping from these, right? Like, not really. There's mostly just you engaging with your weapon, or maybe the weapon that you want to do next, or anything like that, or maybe you want to sell it to people. You pick up all the thicket bows and you're just going to try to get +1 for people. Sure, but why did it have to be only weapon? And I kind of get it, right? Like, it seems like huge power creep. But why didn't you give us a little bit more options? After we're done with our weapons, give us a little bit more. Because after I'm done with my weapon, I feel like this is just kind of like a farming calculator where it's like, okay, I'm just going to pick up white thicket bows now, and I'm going to hope they either sell for something, or I get +1 and then I sell it to people playing Toxic Rain or EA. I did kind of lose interest in it after I actually finished my tree. So that is kind of a problem with longevity. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe this proves to be not a problem at all. But it seems like it just wasn't enough to just engage with your weapon. Now, I want to make sure you understand, I have not dived deep into this mechanic or anything like that. Super crazy mods or anything like that, or a lot of the combining stuff like that. I'm still in my league start level, basically. So don't get me twisted. I don't know. Maybe it's going to go better. But right now, I'm disappointed, but I think it can be fixed. Now, I have been having a lot of fun with the base game, though. And let's quickly talk about the upgrades I've made on my Toxic Green Ballista. And once again, I basically collected the most asked questions on my stream. I already made basically a Q&A in my last video, so if you want to check that out as well. If your question isn't here, it might be in the latest one. But basically, we fixed our mana now without life tap. For people who are interested, we use life tap support until forever. Your mana cost is basically not a problem. Now we do have a mana cost, and now I'm going to explain to you how you do it. The first thing and the biggest thing is that you need this craft right here. Reduced mana cost of skills doing effect. This goes up to 25%. In order to get this, you will either have to pay somebody on TFT or know somebody who has that craft, or you try it yourself and unveil it from a Cinder Swallow urn. However, the chance is not 100%, so you might have to go through 2 or 3 of these. So I would just try and get somebody who has the mod already. And then you need 2 times -7 mana cost on your rings. If you have Fertile Catalyst and you get it to 20 quality, it's actually -8. The more, the better. And then at the end, you also need the Life Mastery right here. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost. This basically takes care of a little bit of the rest. So at the end here, while I have my flask up right now, it costs 6 mana. If I had a perfectly crafted flask, if I had quality, it would probably be 4. So yeah, as you can see, it's not that easy to fix your mana, but once you have fixed your mana, you can replace life tap with something like an Empower or damage on full life or something like that. That being said though, there's nothing wrong with life tap. I ran with it basically until level 93. I don't know what people have against life tap. They're always like, is this actually the way we could do it? No, life tap is totally fine. It's like 20% more damage, which is not that much worse than most support gems, and you don't have to think about anything. Then the second thing, cluster jewel crafting. Pretty damn easy. What you do is you make a large cluster jewel, right? So the first one, I don't have 3 notables here. You don't have to have a perfect one. Don't waste your money. You just need to buy an 8 passive with chaos damage. And then you use aberrant fossils, which are the ones that prefer chaos mods. And you use them on it. And whenever you get a combination of at least 2 notables, you chuck it in and you see if the Unholy Grace is in front. This is the best mod. If you have it, you're done, right? And if you get 2 good notables in front, then even better, right? Let's say you don't have Unholy Grace in front, but instead you have 2 with 30% increased damage. That's also totally fine. Do not waste your money on this. It's not that important. The difference between, we actually rolled one on stream, a really good jewel. I sold it back, right? It would have been the GG jewel for this build. It was 2.5 divines. I just sold it because the only difference was instead of 12% chaos damage here, I had 30. Chances are you can do better with 2.5 divines than that. And this jewel here, I think took me 1 or 2 fossils. And about the small cluster jewel. So people were asking about reservation. You cannot run haste until you get this reservation cluster right here, and you have the whole charisma cluster. You need a 3 passive 6% increased mana reservation efficiency small cluster jewel here, and then you need to roll with just alteration spam with augmentations, and then also regal, right, to get an extra mod at the end. All you need is either mortifying aspect, right, which gives you increased mana reservation efficiency for malevolence, or the same thing for haste. The malevolence one is better because it also gives you chaos res, so if you have alterations to spare, I would definitely roll for this one. Then about flask crafting, it's basically the same. So you want increased charge recovery is the best mod that you want. Increased charge recovery is huge because it scales with your ascendancy. For example, if we look over here, everything that regenerates charges, even stuff like this, gets basically scaled by this increase. Second best mod to get is reduced charges per use, and the third best mod is increased flask duration. You really want either of those. And then for suffixes, you need 1 with an open suffix so you can actually craft on, so you just have to basically annul or just roll until you get a single mod. And then the rest, I would just do evasion, armor. You don't have to do this. This gets replaced by Taste of Hate if you already have a Taste of Hate. And then here I have reduced effect of curses. Cast speed and attack speed are both the same because we have Wilma, so those are also really good. Just make sure that you have no mods with like less duration or anything like that, and then you're going to be good. Also, on your belt, get increased flash charges gained if possible. And then as for automating your flasks, you want reused at the end of this flask's effect. You get into a map, you press them once, and most likely you'll never have to press them again, which is very, very cozy. The only thing that you unfortunately can't automate is your life flask. Then bow crafting is going to be something for next time because we actually didn't do it in the end. And then crucible and bows, people were asking about what should they craft on. Let's quickly take a look, for example, what I had. So it starts at your base. You want a base type that has at least 1.5 base attack speed, which is only thicket bow, growth bow, and short bow. And the mods you want on it are either +1 level of socketed dexterity gems or +1 level of socketed bow gems. And then if you can, in my opinion, GG would be increased attack speed, less global damage. The less global damage does reduce our damage. However, the increased attack speed is local on a weapon, so it is basically a more multiplier. If we think about this in a vacuum, you have 1 point, let's say you have 100 damage, right? 100 damage, 15% less, you're at 85 damage, but then you have 30% more because it's a multiplier. So then you do times 1.3. So actually, you're doing 10.5% more damage. Plus, it's going to feel way better because now you're attacking way faster, right? And the rest, whatever, this is not even good. If you can't get this combination, you still want the plus to level either bow or dexterity, and then you can get stuff like wither effect, damage over time multiplier. So before you craft, you want to make sure that this is actually a good base. You don't want to be the guy who then first crafts and then has to afterwards make that tree, because that's a lot harder to do. And as for how we're going to craft it, I'm going to go over it a little bit, but I'll link it down in the description. I actually have a video about plus free bow crafting. But yeah, I hope this answers the most pressing questions. What else did I upgrade? I upgraded my gloves to this. Now I'm almost suppress capped. I still have to upgrade my shitty boots though. I got extinguish on it, so now I can't be ignited or shocked or anything like that anymore, which is really nice. I got better rings. These actually have life. I had crafted life before, but since I now wanted to craft the minus mana cost, that was pretty huge. Also, I got quite a bit of chaos res, which helps out a lot, especially with the new map mods that actually get physical as extra chaos. Nothing changed here. I got a blood grip with malevolence aura effect. I wouldn't buy this if it's expensive. I just found this for like, I think 35 chaos, which was really nice. Quiver's still not upgraded. Wilma's still the same. Bow still Krill Rain. We're going to work on that. And on the tree, once again, all I did was get my cluster jewels, so I can now fit in haste. But yeah, hope you guys had a good league start. Hope I could answer some more questions. Once again, if some of the questions you were asking were not in here, very likely they were in the first update video. I'm going to talk about bows next time around. I'm going to talk about feared, stuff like that. Most likely we're going to have done feared by day 4. We're going to see. But yeah, that's basically all I had to say. And since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.